by
Thanks for reminding us.
windows.
Oh, you're welcome.
By the windows, it was as if we weren't part of the gang up front. Now, the people up front had a great time heard because we were.
You gotta be careful, they fly right by.
I know.
So I
hope it's not that way, because we had said to them.
Good evening, welcome everyone. My name's Sharon, and I run the Vintage House program here at the museum. And one of my favorite things is to hear stories from the vintage house owners that tell us about the history of their houses and the history of their families in the houses and what they love, what their families have loved through the years, being down here and loving Stone Harbor. So I kind of get both the Stone Harbor history and the vintage house history, the structural history as well. So it's just been a joy working on this for the past year. Our vintage houses go pre-1960. So that means that they are 60 plus years old at this point. So, and some are over 100 years old. But it's really interesting, and some have maintained the existing structure, and some have altered the structure and added on as their families have grown. So it's been a really fun experience to learn about all this, and we're hoping to do in years to come something along the lines of a trolley tour to share these stories in the houses with some of the local people here. So question, how many in the room are in a vintage house, own a vintage house now?
I'm not now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we say pre-1960 for what qualifies here. What you have up here, it's kind of fun to see. This is the map from 1917. I know you've seen some maps that are back there. That's 1926, and the unknown year before that is similar to that. And the yellow dots, I know this is kind of small for up here, but the yellow dots are where the houses are. So some of you may even see the lives, you might see your house up there on this one. It's just fascinating to go through this, and with all the changes that are going on in this island, that some of these are still standing stronger than ever. And so throughout the year, once a month, we post stories about a different vintage house every month. And so what you see up here are the ones that we have featured on our website and we've shared on social media, so they might be familiar with you. And the families have been nice enough to share with us their stories about, their family's history here, and many of them talk about, their kids, and they worked at Springer's or Taylor's or, the various places. So it's kind of interesting on how many of these lives have paralleled, although they don't know each other. None of them know each other. So I don't know if any of you have seen these, and some of them are old and new versions of the same house. And some of them are just one version. I think the bottom right, I think almost everyone knows the barn. The most recognizable one, aside from maybe the top center, the concrete house on Pennsylvania Avenue. I think those are very distinctive ones here. But all the rest that are just, I think they're all just sort of classic in their own way, and real fun with the pictures that families have of how the house has evolved. So what we like to do on open mic night is less me get up here and talk and give you history, but more hear your stories or anything you want to share about, the house or houses or houses of neighbors, or just share some history that everyone might want to know. So is there anyone here that wants to start with that first? No, that's too broad. Okay. All right. So just because a few of you have a house. So let's start with, I'll tell you a little bit about the houses that are up here. One I know very well, far right, that's 8727 Sunset, where you see in the middle over there. The bottom of those is 1962, and that's a good friend of mine and her father on the deck. and he bought that house in 1947. It's over 100 years old though. And then up top was a little bit later with the plantings that her mom had put, I think it was 1980. And there's a little crepe myrtle tree right there. That crepe myrtle tree overtakes the entire house right now. That's right out, you can't even, barely even see the front porch. It's huge and right there. So it's all, everything that they started is still there. And the cool story about that one is the owner, the original developer, owner of the Pebbles, his daughter wanted to be on the bay. So he built that house as the boathouse. He called it the boathouse to the Pebbles. And sometime in the 80s, one of those family members from the Pebbles visited them, and they both had identical staircases, and they had this really unique ornamental thing on top of the mantle, which they had taken down because it looked hazardous, like it could break. But both houses had that, and that was the tie between the two. So as you can see, it's a little bigger than what you would think of as a boathouse. I mean, you kind of get a shed in mind for that, but it was built for his daughter, and so much of the architecture from that had mirrored the Pebbles at the time. I was hoping to have Larry Barron come talk, but he is in Scotland right now with the British Open, so he wasn't able to come share the latest going on with that, but more to come in that over the next year. That'll be fun to hear about. The top right too is a house that's out on Corinthian, and that was initially built in 2 phases, and it was 2 apartments. It was built in 1929 and 1935. And over the years, their family just kept evolving and taking over the house. And this recent was 2018, I think, on the left. And so it had been 2 really distinct properties for a while, and now under the same roof they made that one. So it's all, and they really got some damage on their dock for Sandy. However, for Hurricane Sandy. However, the water came up to just the bottom step, did not damage any part of the house. So it all was structurally sound still. And that house was, like I said, 1929 and 1935. So the concrete house. What you see up here on the top is a postcard, and with it being built. And then you have a current day picture of that. And that has evolved through the years. There was a lot of society parties there over the years. They've had many, many house tours and done lots of upgrades along the way, but the structure is still exactly as it was back then. So that's kind of fun too. I'm trying to fine-tune a story for the website for that. I think everyone would love to know the history of that, especially the society parties that were back in the 30s and 40s there. It was a lot of fun stuff.
And Susan, the rumor always was that was the train station, but it wasn't.
No, it was not. So even though, because it's called Pennsylvania Avenue too, so maybe people think, because the Pennsylvania Railroad did come, but that was up a few blocks down and up by 2nd Avenue. So that was not. It was built, the Diller family was involved. Well, they were the first to live there. I don't think they were the ones to build it though. But they were the first to live. I don't think it was lived in for about 10 years. It took about 5 years to build, and then it wasn't lived in right away. So it was a big undertaking and so unique, and unique not only for this area, but for the country, evidently, from what I've read, of that time, of this just solid concrete house. So that's been fascinating to learn.
Hey, Susan?
Yes.
It is so interesting. I've been in the house, and it has this full basement that's unbelievably big. And it's amazing. And when you're on the 2nd floor, it's kind of like, almost like a ledge or something that you can kind of look down to the rest of the house. And the people that have it now, I think she's had, actually, we looked at that house right now, like 1992. And we didn't buy it, we bought the other house, we have now. But that house was sold right after that. and the person that bought it. And they've done a beautiful job. The gardens are so pretty, but I just was so impressed with this basement. I thought, oh my God, this basement is huge.
Did it have a kitchen in it? Did they?
Yes, it
Yeah.
had a kitchen in it. I think they made it into, it was like a second marriage for them. And I think that they had some teenagers. I think they had a kid, like a teenage kitchen, whatever, down there too. But they did a beautiful job. Beautiful job.
Nice. Now, did you look at this looking to buy, or
Oh, yeah,
were you on a house tour, or?
Oh, no, we looked
You
at
were-
the house to buy it.
Okay.
And we bought a house, to me, it was kind of similar, because it was white, and we loved the fireplace in this house, but it was kind of funny, so we saw the basement, then we went down the basement, I guess we were kids like 12 and 8, and they had this, like I remember the 70s, used to see when people used to redo their basements and the way they put toilets in downstairs in the basement, they had like a throne. And my son was like, what is that? Yeah, so I saw it, I guess it was last year, and it was just beautiful.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Really, really very impressive, yeah.
And Susan, I think in the Depression, people that owned it at that time couldn't afford the taxes, so they sold it back to the borough for $1 in around 1932.
That's why it sat there for a while then. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, here. He'll be our roving mic back there. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, there's so many things you just take for granted when you see something, but then you go back to the history or, why people have changed things, and it really is fascinating. They're not always in town. I think it's the Morans are the owners now, and Craig Miller actually toured with a representative from here last fall and took some great pictures. Everyone loves Craig's pictures, so we made sure we have all those. But I'm trying to get the backstory, because it is probably our most popular thing when we put out on social media is everyone just loves hearing these stories. So we try and make sure we can, spend enough time not just getting the pictures of the houses, but really understand, the story of the people live there and why the houses evolved as they did. Up here we have, I'm trying to remember the address, 149 88th Street. This is a postcard of it, and this was built originally by John Kinzel. And for those that don't know, he's one of our founders of Stone Harbor, a contemporary of Risley. And he was, I think, worked with the railroad. He was on the board with the yacht club and the church. And so he was very involved in the community, did a lot as far as the building of Stone Harbor and one of the early founders in the whole design. And this was actually his second house. He had one on First Avenue, and his house was one of the first ones that actually had a bulkhead in front. He was on First right at the beach, and he had put up a bulkhead for protection. But for a reason I don't know, he sold that house, and then it was leveled, and somebody built something else. But he built this one on 88th Street. Now, that's what it is now, and here's what it is, the postcard. It stayed in the Kinzel family, that's Kinzel and Drummond family, until about 1960. And then it was sold to the Naughton family, that's Naughton. And they were really fun to talk to. The couple that bought it had 8 children. And every one of those children grew up down here in their summers and all worked here. So they named all the places they all worked. All of those children and their spouses came down here together, and their children all came down, and their children spent their summers and worked here. So you have a huge amount of people that share this house and have all these Stone Harbor memories, and just, I think it's 3 bedrooms, but they just make it work. They've got a sun porch there, and but they have, they attribute this house as to why their very extended family of cousins and everything else, why they're so close. because of their ties to Stone Harbor. You know, they always do the 4th of July activities on the beach and all the stuff around here, and they have their own internal competitions, and so that's really fun. We have, you know, to get stories of 2 different families, one that lived, you know, 40 years in this house. It was initially called, what you see here, it was called Ivy Cottage. That's what John Kinzel had named it. And then up here, I'm gonna look at this again because I forget. It was called Teac, Tak Na Mara, which is Gaelic for house by the sea. And Mr. Naughton was from Ireland, and he came here in his 20s, so he had the Irish brogue the whole time he was, you know, alive, and as long as all his children knew. And so he immediately wanted to name it something Gaelic, and they all still refer to it as that. In fact, if you wanted to look at the whole story on our website, you'll see they had a big banner out front that said Tak Na Mara 50th anniversary of their family, and they showed a picture of them all on the beach, and I tried to count, and there were about 95 people all on the beach there for their family reunion. But I think it's so cool that, you know, it's this house, so it's not just the structure of the house, but it's being here and spending all this time here that is what's bonded that family. And I think a lot of families say that, you know, because they're here, and maybe back then, and you didn't have TVs, and even when TVs were common, a lot of my friends, we didn't have TVs in the house, and so you played cards, you played, you know, board games or whatever, or you sat and interacted with each other, you know. So that's a lot of what I hear of the stories, is a lot of, you know, board games and cards and walking into town at Springer's. There's always that. Everyone has that story. So those are some of the stories. There's more. There's plenty more on our website that we've been, you know, learning about over the years. So Robin, not to put you on the spot, where is your house and how old is it?
Oh, it's on Golden Gate,
Okay, you're out on Golden Gate.
off 104,
Okay.
and my parents bought it in 2008, and I believe it was built in the 30s,
Okay.
and the Popes were the original owners, and then a family named the Wenses bought it when I was 16.
Okay.
So I would have been, that would have been, let's see, like 78. Is that right, Mom? Is that
16.
Is that 78?
Okay.
So my parents are across the street. So
Okay.
when the Wenses had it, we were directly across the street, and I was in high school, I guess.
Okay.
So then my mom and dad bought it in 2008, and it was a rental. And also my brother and I used it with our children, and then mom and dad let me have it with my husband 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's no longer a rental,
Right.
and it's a family-owned house.
Oh, nice.
So I do know it's a little bit haunted, I would say.
Oh, do tell.
So sometimes my husband and I smell funny things.
Pleasant
Well,
or
well,
perfume or?
he would go into the kitchen to make his coffee in the morning, and one time he smelled bacon and eggs cooking. And
my.
that certainly wasn't me doing it. So,
No, it wouldn't be.
so that was one time. And then he would smell perfume sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would smell cigarette smoke upstairs at the landing of the steps sometimes. And then there were these two, I'm sorry, I'm not facing, but in the living room, there were these two swivel chairs. They were white, and sometimes they would be sideways, and I would always just fix them and make them straight. And one time, my husband and I were just coming in together at the same time into the living room, and I said, "Why do you keep turning these chairs?" And he said, "I thought you were doing it." And I said, "I never touch them. I always make them straight." So that was another thing. So we have, I guess, somebody sharing our house with us.
Wow.
So that's kind of all we really know. I don't
Yeah.
know much about the Popes. I do know the Wenses who had it prior.
Mm-hmm.
We were friends with them, my
Okay.
family and their family.
Okay,
So
nice.
we were, loving them, and were sad when they had to sell it. They fell into poor health, and Mr. Wenz offered, I guess, my father, the first crack at it if he was interested.
Nice,
So that was how it went.
nice.
So,
Oh,
well,
nice.
thank you. I'm
All
sorry
right.
I didn't talk so
No,
much.
that's all right. Well, thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So speaking of Golden Gate, could we hear a little bit about your house and the history of it from either of you?
The problem is I don't really have it organized in my head right now, but
Okay.
I can
I
tell
mean,
you a
just
little bit
some
about what I know.
general overview of the house and how long you've been there, whatever.
Well, so the house is at 470 104th Street, so if you go out to 104th Street, it curves and becomes Golden Gate Road, and it's a house that's on the right-hand
It's
side,
up here, right?
right on the curve, be higher up there, but it's,
It's on the point.
yep,
Uh-huh.
well, yep, that's where it is there, and we know that the house, the man that bought the first two lots bought them in 1913, and by 1914, he had built enough of a house on those two lots that it shows up in the tax records. So that's how we were able to establish when the house was built. If you were to go out there now, you would see to the right of the house, there's a garage, and it's kind of a garage apartment, and we now know that that garage apartment was originally built on the other side of the house. And so it was actually moved around the time of the 1944 storm. And that has an apartment in the back. It was called the Mildew Motel when we bought it. So when it rained outside, it rained inside. The house is interesting because it was built with kind of a basement area underneath. And it was originally designed so that people could walk sailboats under and hang them underneath the house. But because of that now, it's standing room. You have to lean over a little bit, but standing room. And there are actually a couple of very strange drains that are in the floor of the basement. So you can take a pitcher of water and pour it in one of these drains, and you hear it running, and then it stops, and then you can hear it running again. So nobody's been able to explain what that is. It's some kind of a cistern system that was,
Wow.
yeah, and the cement walls, they were poured cement, and they're about 18 inches thick. So it was a really well-built house. It survived all those storms, and we only had water in the basement once, and that was because the side door actually got pressured open. If that door had not opened, the water wouldn't have been in the basement there.
That was Sandy too.
That was not Sandy, it was a different storm. Yeah, I forget which name storm
Yeah,
it
because
was.
it's like a whirlpool of just wind, because we're on the inside point there, because we're on the point, and so it was just kind of like a tornado. And then it just went, and we had the original just lock, which was just this one little lock. Now we have four. And it just got the door and just blasted it.
So we know that the first person that bought that house originally, I think he worked for the Risley Brothers and came in to operate an electrical company. And I know he was in Bridgeton, and that's where his house was. And I know he died at a relatively young age, and I found his grave over there in Bridgeton. He sold the house, his estate sold the house to a woman who was from Chestnut Hill, and her husband had died, and apparently she came into a lot of money, and she bought that house, and then she traveled with a son for about 6 or 7 years. And then it sold to really two related families that owned it most of the time. They were, their last name was Cooper, and then after the Coopers, it went to a family called Niskern from about the 70s through 82, and then Dr. Rosado from the University of Pennsylvania, chief of surgery there, owned the house from 82 until we bought it in 1993.
Wow.
We've actually saved, if you drive by, you can see that front porch, we actually restored the pillars that hold that up, so they're kind of like barrels, like you'd make an old wooden barrel. And they were originally, they're actually structural, now they're just a little more decorative, but we've saved all that, so. Still got all the original hardwood floors and,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
pretty much everything
We
there,
still
yeah.
have a lot of the furniture that came in the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's still a lot of
They had
furniture.
these little beds that were really cute. I think we started with maybe 5 of them or 4 of them, and now we're down to 2. If I would have known I was gonna have a third grandchild, I would have somehow saved that third one. But they're just adorable, and we have this one room that slopes because it was probably a porch at one time, and there actually had some worms that ate the floor. So it had this,
Shipworms, yeah.
yeah. And so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever want to put a new floor down there because I thought it was so cool looking. So our two grandsons, so they're almost 6 and 7. One bed's this way, one bed's that way. And we have to put a piece of wood before it would slope down. So and they just
Wow.
love those beds. They think that, and they look at the water. You know, they wake up, they can see the bay, and they look at the water at night. They just love it.
Oh.
And so that house is also reported to be haunted.
Oh yes.
And, I'm not gonna tell any direct stories, but
No
other
direct
people have
stories?
told us stories about that. And there was a building inspector here a number of years ago when they put the addition on the back that he supposedly encountered something on the upstairs front bedroom. And after that was actually blown off of the roof. He was holding a sheet of plywood and got blown off the roof and broke his leg.
Yeah. But he was, so when they were
And so
building,
after that, he had no interest in going in the house anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
Wow,
It's a
so they're not
story.
all friendly ghosts, huh? Now, had you had roots in Stone Harbor already, or you just found?
No,
you know,
really, no, my parents had a house at Barney Light,
Uh-huh,
and we just came around that time frame and started looking at different houses at that time. And
it was in February, and it was lots of snow, and we
February of '93.
nice, we could come up here, and I just, yeah. And so when and then first, we didn't really look at houses, and we looked at this house in the water, in fact, it was really for sale for 5 years. And he didn't want to get out of the car, and so I went up and I could see the bay from the front. I thought, oh my God, you gotta come look at this, you have to come, you're gonna love this. And as soon as he saw it, he said, this is the house.
that's it, yeah.
And our kids, it's good, it's nice, our daughter was 8 and our son was 12. And I have 11 brothers and sisters, and so the person that had it before had 9, and I just loved all the bedrooms and all the, all the beds and everything. We've kept the furniture and painted it several times, and it is a great house. And then we opened up, so we opened up the apartment. Initially, we thought that we would just, the 4 of us could live in the apartment, and then we realized no, because it was nice because Mel works in Vineland, so we could, and I'm a teacher, so we could spend the whole summer there, and we didn't have to drive back and forth. And the drive from Vineland isn't that big of a deal as compared to And we realized no, that wasn't going to work. And, but it is a great house.
Yeah.
And just to finish it up, we actually decided a couple of years ago that it was at the point where it either had to be torn down or we had to put a lot of money into it, so we put a new roof. It's got a metal roof on the front part of the house, and we redid the 5 bathrooms, so it's not gonna, it's gonna look nice going in the dumpster someday, but not during our tenure.
Not during your time.
That's not what I'm selling.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, we have the original kitchen cabinets that we still use.
Oh, that's great.
Somebody that came and looked at the kitchen, they said to me, are you serious? You want to keep those cabinets? Are you serious? And they're really interesting because they're big white cabinets and there's plenty of space, yeah.
Do they have
Wow.
glass fronts?
No, they're just.
No,
waterproof.
they're just, yeah, they're just,
Because I grew up in a
Very
house
plain.
that was built in 1919 and we had a pantry and all of the big high, as you say, high cabinets, but the top all had glass fronts.
yeah, and these-
Interesting.
Where was that house that you're referring to?
In Elizabeth, New
Oh,
Jersey.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
over here.
Oh. Interesting, interesting. Well, thanks for
oh, we
sharing
have a
that.
small clawfoot tub
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cute.
Now, this is, Terry, am I right? Is this rough one?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
93rd. The yacht club just did a house tour, and this was on the house tour. And it's been raised and renovated, and it's beautiful. There were certain features that they kept and saved, and so inside it's very modern, some modern fixtures or whatever, but they had a front door it wouldn't be this front door, but inside the screen door. And it kind of looks like a barn door almost, but what they did is they saved that front door and it's now a sliding barn door to their family room. And so there were a couple features that they had really saved. I don't know off the top of my head, but this was one of our original homes in Stone Harbor
It's
as
from
well.
1914, because I was in charge of the house.
Oh, you were there then, yeah, that's
when
you were
in charge
there.
of the house. It was
Yes.
from 1914, and when you were in the kitchen, that was the original part of the house. And we didn't realize, when that door you're talking about, someone said to me towards the end of it, they said, you know what, you really should have it closed because you can see the actual, how the hardware was, because I just was looking at it with the new hardware. I didn't realize on the other side had the old hardware, so we did that. And,
There was something else, there was an old ironclad tub. Right?
yes, it was upstairs.
And
And she brought that down. And the interesting thing I thought they did is, look, tons of interesting things, but they actually took the floor, and when they moved the house up, it became the ceiling on one part, and that looked really nice. Yeah, that was really cool. And they were telling people that the floors are original, but they were not, those are not the original floors. I said to them, I said.
the ceilings are original.
Yeah.
The ceilings are- So they kept the original
And-
floors,
and
just
in
not
that-
the wall.
And in that part next to it with all the windows and everything, that's like the dining area. And I don't know if they could actually keep that, but they kind of made it look like that again.
Mhm.
And they originally did want to keep the windows, and they just couldn't do it. But they had a table there that's just beautiful, beautiful table. They took it to Lancaster, and they had, I guess it was the Irish people worked on it. But what they had to do is they had to make the table taller, because people maybe were shorter than that. And it was just done beautifully. The table is just beautiful. And they also had two chairs. Did you see the two chairs in the back that were part? They had a picture from 1952, but the chairs were probably from the 20s.
Yes, yeah.
They had those. And they didn't really, they originally thought, when they met with the guy, he said he was gonna leave a lot of things, and he didn't really leave as much. But somebody, Marilyn Timms, came by that morning and brought the book from here. And people got to look at it.
Okay, yeah, they had, the pictures were strewn out on the table
Yeah,
and so people could
that's it.
see. And so, I mean, so a lot of people, some things aren't practical to live in, and so they want to modernize some of these homes. But I think it's really neat that they, at least try and maintain something that
And
of the
it's so
character.
small. It's like, it's 2,000, that was only 2,000 square feet. It's a 4-bedroom house.
Right, but it was, it's on a funky lot with the little triangle and whatever, and they made use of every inch of that. Is it,
Yeah, we have a lot of this
yeah,
stuff.
a lot of their stuff
Refrigerator and that
is,
stuff,
this
yeah.
refrigerator and
Yeah.
cabinet right
I'm
here
sure
are
she
from
did that. I
the
told
original.
people that.
The washing.
And this washstand was too? We had this whole corner was, and now I think it's just a,
Yeah, so until 2 years ago, that same family owned that, and the last person to own it was the nephew, and his last name was Brown. So there was a connection that entire time.
Wow.
There's a picture of her is right there up in front of the house too.
the picture of the owner,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? Does it say the year? 1942, right? Yeah, so that's a lot of fascinating history in that house. So anyone else? Yes.
We don't own it now, but we used to own 353 93rd. We
Okay.
since moved across the driveway to the next house. But one of the things that's interesting to do is to go to the county tax records, and they'll help you. We just thought we'd look back like a couple, we ended up spending hours. It was great, and we searched it all the way to the original, to 1913, and we put it all together. And after we sold the house, we made a nice little box of all the history that we had for Monica and John Lucosta who bought our house. And so they framed some of the things. And some of the things that happened is, as we were redoing the house and living in it, people would stop and look. It's a cute little house. And they look at it and they would say, we used to come here, my aunt, everyone had a story of who lived in that house. So we got to know one set of 3 sisters whose aunt owned it. The aunt had no children, so then they had it, and they found the original purchase documents that the aunt brought it from, I guess, a tax sale, right, like 20s.
Right, the house.
And people would give us things, and so we made all those things for Jonathan and Monica, and gave them the whole set so that it would stay with the house.
Oh,
And
that's
Jonathan
so
was
great.
so excited, he actually framed some of those things as artwork in our house.
And they plan to keep the house
I hope so.
structurally?
Otherwise, I want it back. We kept everything we could, but my thought was, well, first of all, when we looked at the house, I immediately liked it. He was in the car, not liking it.
No.
Which is
You gotta
nice.
understand, the wiring was knob and tube, the plumbing was galvanized and leaking like hell underneath the house.
But I said, we'll just like shabby chic it for a little while, and then we'll redo the whole thing. Well, you know, of course, you can't do that.
One summer, the shabby chic lasted one summer.
Yeah.
But it's funny, these aunts came and they were saying, oh, we grew up here. In 1964, they put a two-story garage on the property, which would not be allowed today, because it's only a 35-foot wide property
Okay.
by 110. But she was saying, well, yeah, when we were done working, because the second floor of the garage used to be the residence for kids here working at different stores and different businesses.
Or the family.
So they were saying, we would do all the cleaning up there, shower outside, and then we would go to Fred's directly, because there were no fences between
There's a
properties,
straight
and then we'd go
line.
straight out
Straight
the
line.
back.
What was your address again?
353 93rd.
It was
So
called-
Oh, okay.
Roughly.
Okay.
It's in one of the loose leaves here,
Uh-huh.
and there it's listed for sale, $2,000, with the ability to have a rental at $250. Yeah, and it was called an oldie house, I don't know why.
Only in Philly, I
Only.
guess. I guess it was a silent, it was a
I
sales
have
brochure.
seen that on
Must
some
have
of the
been
houses, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the sales brochure.
But there was one funny incident. The two aunts came with one husband came along, and they wanted to see the second floor again
We took them all over.
of the garage, and they saw that. And so I'm coming down the stairs, but he's sort of holding me back. And the ladies leave, and he said, I can see one of my kids up there.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, so why did you move across the street?
Well,
Next door. We just went from one driveway to the other.
our goal was to live in that house permanently, but as we had to redo things, you know, my dream was, no, we just like freshened it up, right? Of course, that's not practical. And it had a legal apartment upstairs.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to get rid of the apartment until we were sure we were gonna, you know, but since we had to redo everything, even the apartment, we just put all this money into it, everything worked, everything was perfect, and then we moved down full-time. And then I said, well, now we should redo it. Martin said, exactly where we're gonna live. Before, we lived in another house.
Right,
But
right.
now where we're going to live,
Yeah.
and whatever. He said, why don't we just move across the driveway to
Because it
that
was for
house?
sale, the house, our neighbor was selling it.
So of course, I said, no, but eventually I said, you know, you're really serious, but he said, I really think it's more practical for us. We just spent all this money, we're gonna just throw all that money out, isn't it smarter to put it into a different house? Okay, so we did that, but I wouldn't sell the house, I held onto the house for a while, finally I did sell it, but I do want it back. Every family that came had some nice stories about the aunt and the cousins who owned it, and
That's
it
great.
just, people would stop, and Martin sometimes saw him and say, come on in, come see, we take them all around, and, yeah, but it was
Oh, that's
just really
nice.
nice that
That's
it was a
great.
happy house, and I think that's why I really like to keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's good.
And Monica and Jonathan seem to be very happy there too.
And so, a lot of neighbors, were there other vintage homes nearby? Were the neighbors?
There's
all-
one
there's
across the
one
way,
that's-
across the street, yeah, two actually, two.
And then down from you, you know, there's, what do they call it, the sea, you know, that cute little one, this,
Oh, where Lisa and
Yeah,
Clyde-
Oh,
yeah,
Lisa
yeah,
Carter.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
that's
little-
not, it's
Yeah,
old,
we got it.
but it's a pretty
It's a
house.
Cape Cod, probably built in the late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Yeah, ours was
Nice.
1913.
So yeah, 13.
And we're on the same street as Roughwood, so that was on our
Yeah,
corner.
they're
Oh, so you're right there.
And across the street,
And across from Terry and Kevin,
yeah.
basically.
All in the family.
I know.
well, the most interesting thing about our block is we have more full-time residents than any other block.
We have 7 full-time residents between 30 and Sunset.
Yeah,
Doesn't
You can see
94,
lights of it.
like the stumps, they're a lot.
they're
They're
95th.
They're 95th.
Oh, yeah, there's some, yeah, that
Yeah,
whole
they're-
area,
The whole
there's a
area.
lot of vintage.
We call it
Yeah.
the
But we're
historic
full-timers.
district.
We're
The
full-timers.
historic district.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're full-timers.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah, that's true, the historic district, that's a good way to put it. There's a few little
Clumps of, yeah.
clumps of that
And
around.
that- But it's disappearing, and yes, it is.
Sadly it is, but We have 260 homes registered with us right now, and we have five, because the Nuns property went down, but we have 5 registered business/churches, so 260. I mean, so many people say, oh, they're all going down, but 260 is a huge amount, and every time we post stories on the website, we get a few more requests for plaques. So there's people that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
And I drove around the island during the winter on a quieter time when it was safe to cross the street, and just checked every property. And there were only 2 that had gone down from our last check, probably the year before. So they don't always tell us when they sell and they disappear. But, you know, that's always sad to see. But, you know, I think I would
There's more than
say
you think.
there's
I mean,
more than you think, yeah.
First, when we started that program about 5 or 6 years ago, we had the idea to try and come up with something that would provide people some pride in keeping the old homes versus tearing them down. And so we came up with this idea. And at that time, there was, because I had to run the tax records of how many were available at that time. And it was something like 500 or 600. This would have been like 6 years ago that would have been eligible. And I said, well, if we get 50 of those in the first year, we're doing great. The first year we got almost 100. And then each year we keep getting more, and Susan says we're up to 260 or so now, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's still some more out there. Now.
So spread the word.
Yeah,
Hell of a plaque. Kevin says we ought to just put an application over there.
that
Exactly. But some
500 or
people don't
600
have
number,
plaques.
though, a lot of them are gone, you know, probably.
But some people get plaques and display them in their home, like they don't want to put it outside, so they might display it in their living room or something. Mary?
I have an idea for when you do your little talks. Our neighbor bought a house, and it's one of the Stone Harbor Capes, and they had no idea, never heard about it, and I was talking about it to other people, and they didn't know. And I remember when I first moved here, people, you know, told me about them, how there's the double ones, there's the 1.5 ones, there's the single ones, and I think they were built, I think, into the 70s. And I know there's one on Corinthian that's still there, and that was probably, I don't know, that's probably old as our house. Yeah, so that would be something to talk about,
Stone Harbor Caves. Yeah.
because you
capes,
see
yeah.
those with the
They're they were very common. I
yeah.
grew up in one.
One additional point about tax records is that originally on our paperwork, it said our house was from 35.
Yes.
And when we went to find out, no, that's only Stone Harbor got the records then. So that's why we went across, because they're very
Right.
welcome. They would love for people. when they
They're
would come
wonderful.
and
I think
check.
Tina is the name?
No, Rita she's a Rita Fulginetti, whatever.
That was
Yeah,
Rita,
very
yeah. Very helpful, very
Oh,
friendly.
lovely. They
She's
take
like, call ahead, or else you
We
can
just
come and
start.
be on your own and just go through the microphone. But that is true.
The books,
There are a
the
lot,
books.
particularly the courts, if people aren't registered, that all come out as 1935. So
Yes.
there was something about the year 1935, like you said, when they
That's when Stone Harbor,
when-
I believe, got.
officially did the
Yeah,
records.
yeah.
So
There
I could be
were
wrong.
2 reasons for that. Well, even before that, in the teens and the 20s, the record keeping wasn't really accurate, and everything was
Precise, yeah.
handwritten, and
Yeah.
they would do it periodically. I remember Mel's house, originally, I forget the date, and it was like 3 or 4 years, I had researched, was later than his, and Mel said, no, that's not right. I said,
I
well,
knew it was wrong, but it
Yeah.
took me a while and I have to
he
reinforce
found
that.
a picture or something, right, of the
Well,
bridge or
and I went
something?
over there and talked to the people at the county. They are so happy to do that.
Yes.
And they'll take you through, you can make copies of everything. They're huge
Yeah.
pages, and
They'll help you with
they
that.
love
just show
doing it.
pictures.
And you
They're
should
patient,
have,
but they
you
love doing
eventually wind up upstairs,
Yeah.
it's the old records,
Yeah.
and you can only take like a pencil
You
and
can't,
paper.
yeah, you can't take
And,
notes or
and
anything
those
else.
records are beautifully written in that old script.
Mhm.
It's really a history tour.
And you see, because, as Mel said earlier, the original record is when the lot or the ground was sold, but that
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean a house was built.
Right.
Right.
But if you kind of trace it and where you see an addition jump in the tax, that meant there was a building on there.
Yes,
So you
exactly,
could probably
yeah.
say that's when
Yeah,
it
the house,
started.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally 100% accurate. And they have those records going all the way back to before it was Stone Harbor. So there's
Yes,
just
yeah.
no question about it.
Yeah.
There's no dispute about it.
It's
Go look
there.
at it. It'll tell you the exact
And
date.
the other thing on 1935 was, there was a lot of homes at that time during the Depression that went bankrupt.
Yes.
And the borough took them over, you know, and owned them. And
That
then
makes sense, yeah.
whenever they started to get rid of them or whatever, that was in 1935. So that was the date that was listed on
Okay.
a lot of homes,
Yeah.
hundreds of them are that way, with that same year as in 1935. But because they were in bankruptcy, they took them over. And that's, and they don't know exactly whether that happened in 34 or 35, but that's when they wrote all the records down
Okay.
and they stamped it 35.
So, our oldest structure, I think, would be the life saving station, right?
Yes.
95.
1895.
1895, and then right up next to that was the little minnow.
Oh, the window,
Was it
yeah.
that, about this thing? Because we have, not this map 1917, there was even one before, I think, and they're like right over here, so this version for this picture was cut off. But, that's what you see at the end of the island, there's nothing past, the Nuns Beach, and then you just saw going out towards the bridge, and then cut over, and then there it is, and then, the little minnow house next to it. I have that, let's see. We'll go.
There's a picture in the Legion of that
Yeah.
with some cars and some houses on that dirt road. That was back in the,
About 1934 or some of the pictures, but
yeah, but I mean,
You can
the
tell
houses were there
the
before
cars
that,
on it in
yeah,
the
cars,
picture.
yeah.
There it is.
there it is.
Yeah.
That'll come down.
And
Is
that-
that cute? And it's still there.
Yeah, it was on a house for years ago.
Oh, was it?
Yep, years ago.
Is
that
on
117?
117th,
Oh,
yes.
that had to be
I just saw it and I wondered if people live in it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Still do.
It originally housed members of the life saving station.
That's what I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I figured.
It was the, what they call him, the boss, or the
The
keeper.
keeper.
The keeper was the boss of the,
He was
and
the-
he lived
of the
there.
crew.
And
Yeah.
the crew lived upstairs in the life saving station.
Hard to believe a family in this day and age
It's
would
small.
live there.
That
Yeah,
one's smaller than some of the old ones on the courts.
yes, oh yeah, definitely loves it.
Yeah, how
So-
old is the house that's on the bridge when you go over?
Oh, the one right before
Yeah,
the,
that's in the bridge. The
Oh.
bridge keeper's house?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I once saw him getting dressed.
That looks
And
kind
I'm just like, not really, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's getting dressed.
So does anyone know, like, who owns, does a personal,
Yeah, well,
private
it's a
person
private
own this
home
now?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they're a British house, they're on.
So that would be interesting, I think, to get the story of how families have accommodated themselves in something like that.
There's
Maybe
a lot more shrubbery and what have you around it now. I almost didn't see it.
Yeah, oh, is there?
You know, you
Okay.
should talk to about,
Out
that has a
front.
small one like that, is Robin Stiles. They
Yeah,
bought it.
they're
Actually,
in the
It's
course.
kind of a funny story because they actually bought that, when they bought it, they had to sell one of their cars to buy it, because they were just in their twenties, they
Yeah,
were just
yeah.
married. And so they rented it for a long time, but when they finally were able to, they moved to New Jersey, and they were able to use the house more often. And what they did is they put bunk beds in the attic, and their son was, I think he's like 6'3", and they would have to go in there and kind of like slither in there, and have to like slither out, yeah. And then they had, and then the daughter slept, they had 3 kids, and then the daughter slept in a little porch room on a high bed. And I remember they had their washer and dryer outside, but if they did any entertaining, and this wasn't that long ago, if they did any entertaining, they would just put a tablecloth on it and set it up as like a bar or a server. And then I talked her into, so she had in the house door, and she said to me, she goes, I really want to put a new sink in. I said, don't put a new sink in. It was a beautiful porcelain sink, did have a boo-boo on it. I said, just put a tea towel there.
Yeah.
So she always
Oh.
uses it. She said she never got rid of the sink because she remembered what I said.
I'm gonna have to ask her that.
Yeah, I know
that
her real
story.
well.
Yeah, I do too. I just never, and I know exactly where she is, and I know they just became full-time.
And they
They're
bought-
living
They
full-time.
have 2 houses.
Because they-
Well, they sold one,
They sell it
No,
on
they
the-
sell
or
one.
one of their
No.
children is in
Oh,
it.
no, they didn't sell it.
I thought they
That's
did.
their guest house, their closet. So
Oh.
that house is their own closet. I know Robin really well.
The one they sold was back on the bay
Yeah.
where the yacht club.
Yeah, they did sell one, but they have 2 different ones at the
No,
courts.
they didn't, the house that they were
A
living
house
in-
that had been in the family, not theirs, but it wasn't at the courts, I think, right?
It was on
No,
the
they
Is that
bay.
what you're thinking?
No, that's the son's house, that's a different house, and that just
Oh.
got redone. No,
Okay.
they had, the mother and father had 2 sons, and when the mother passed away, they somehow, I guess, made a deal maybe with a brother, but they acquired that house. Okay. And that's where they live, and they just recently did a lot of work to that house. And then 2 streets over is when their kids come,
Okay,
and she needs kids' clothes, that's her closets are open.
yeah, okay. Well, that's good, yeah, we're gonna have to, I'll have to
Summer
get them
clothes,
to
they just switch houses.
Yeah.
do it, yeah,
Just
to
leave
do
the
a
clothes,
write-up
just
for
switch
it.
houses.
Can I ask,
Sure.
you mentioned the Pebbles before, I've seen a lot about it, is there a short story about that place? I saw that it was raised, but what was it?
It was a guest house.
Okay, all right,
It was a guest house and it will now be
a project.
just for a very large
You
extended
could
family.
come in our books, there's a couple
There's-
pages
yeah.
and pictures and stories about it. all
And in
over.
the outside back window, it shows like what it looked like in 1910 and the rendition of what it's gonna look
Oh, yeah,
like.
the addition, yeah, because my husband was on the, ISS planning, whatever it is, and he was gonna throw away the blueprints. And I held on to the blueprints, and anybody that comes over, I said, you wanna see the blueprints of this? It's amazing.
Oh.
What they did with the additions, it's almost like they, they just got their hand and just put a piece back in here and put a piece back in there. It's gonna be just beautiful.
Right, yeah, we're looking for, it's a long project, but we're looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing it when it does come
Really,
out.
that is like the best thing to happen to us in Stone Harbor. We're really.
Yeah, we had a lot of boarding houses back in the day.
Chateau,
Yeah, Chateau and then,
the
drawing a blank.
Grizzly House,
There was the Sherwood House,
the Nautilus.
Fairview,
The Nautilus is.
Fairview's still there.
Nautilus is right over there.
Are they?
And across
Okay.
the street from me, that was a guest house, and the reason I found that out, I came here last year and I was looking through all the pictures and I saw that. And it said, and I went and looked it up, and that was a guest house.
So you had a lot of
It's a
people that would
triplex now.
just come down and, I guess that lifestyle went by the wayside and why a lot of them didn't last so long, a lot of the ones that were here. There was one that was like the female version where, one was men would come down and stay. I think was that the Sherwood, and then there was it was a girl named Catherine something. So does that sound familiar? I don't know. But anyway, because people had come in here and said that that's where they came down and stayed. And the Sherwood House, I think the lifeguards used to stay at. It was like a fraternity house. It was wild.
But Springer's was also,
The Duval, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we do have our historic properties, yes.
And there was a sanitarium on Corinthia, where
Oh,
people that had, like the lung problems would come and stay there.
oh,
is
That
it
makes
like
sense.
on the point in Corinthian that goes
No,
there?
it's about halfway down a block on the basin side. And there was any house, I don't remember, it's like halfway down, so it'd be like 90, or 101 or 2, somewhere in there.
wow, interesting, yeah. So we're about running out of time. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add before we wind up? Well, thank you all for coming, and
Susan, tell them about the.
I was gonna say, we have some upcoming, I think that's why the hands are raised. We do have some upcoming events. We have the Children's Story Hour on Friday mornings, and our big gala, we're having Tour Through Time Gala on Wednesday, August 24th at 5 p.m. And tickets are on sale at the Reeds. You can just call there and buy tickets directly. And it's our big fundraiser of the year, and it's the place to be.
And scavenger hunt.
And we have scavenger hunts in here for kids and big kids as well, that can be electronic on your phones, or we have the paper copies. We've done a lot of really fun upgrades this year and just tried to, change it up and just make things fun and inviting for everybody to come. So, look out for our upcoming events. And we have the next open mic night will be lifeguards is our theme. We'll see how that goes.
When is that?
That will be, I can look on my phone. It's Sunday, I'm gonna say if it's August 15th, if August 15th is a Sunday, it's then, or it's the 16th, let me see.
The 16th is a Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's, I think
14.
14.
14th.
16th is a
it's
Tuesday.
14.
Yep, you're right, sorry. So it's Sunday, August 14th at 7 PM. And we're hoping to get there's so many people that have come and shared that stop in here and they were lifeguard at one point.
You
And
should
they,
put it on the peeps.
oh, we do.
Okay, yeah, lifeguards.
We put it out in the museum and then Mike posts, he shares it with the peeps and we let them know and, and so we have smaller lists, so the lifeguards come in and they just love hearing stories, and wanna read about stuff, and so we're hoping to reach some of them so they can come and share, cause you don't want me up here talking about lifeguards, it's not gonna go very far. So if you know any, tell them about it. So Sunday, August 14th, and so we have lots of fun stuff going on here through the summer.
Susan, tell them about your ideas for Village House activities in the future. They're not solid yet, but
Yeah.
let them
So I have a lot of grandiose ideas that are not yet in place, but one is we want to do some type of a trolley tour of the houses. But another is I'd like to make I'd like to I don't know how I word this. I'd like the vintage house owners to get to know each other. And so whether we do socials here with vintage house owners, or whether I make, like a closed Facebook page for them, where they can just get to know each other and maybe just share, maybe there's certain contractors that specialize in doing that kind of work and helping, maintain property or whatever. So I just thought it would be really fun to get people together that way and that they would enjoy getting to know each other, who doesn't know each other. So yeah, we're just trying to build a vintage house community down the line. And so this year we're evolving, and next year will be even more so.